Joined by Rick Titus, and down in the pit lane, obviously, we have our Ryan Marine, who is doing stellar duty as always. And this is sort of an interesting development, sir. We've got a makeup race from Road America. Had some torrential weather there, had to reschedule the event, and boy, did they pick a good one out here in this absolutely beautiful, dry, low humidity, everything you want for a big race weekend.
Oh, and perfect temperatures for engines, too.
Yes.
And for the aero. The only thing that I can see here, Greg, that's got me concerned is they are going to be driving right into that setting sun in the west. And that's going to be bright in a few spots, particularly as they get into turn one. So that's going to be interesting. But this is the field. There are more Saleens here for tomorrow's races of the S1 Cup cars. But these are the cars that were ready to go, like you said, at Road America, Elkhart Lake. But torrential was a light way to describe it.
Well put.
Yeah. Well, when you see outdoor carpeting floating, that's a bad sign, you know. So.
Yeah, it was. They had no wake zones that were sort of declared there
right.
as well.
Yeah.
It was pretty damp. But as you said, so the field that's lining up here is based off of the grid that we had at Road America for that event.
Right.
And on the pole for that one was the number 14, Brandon Davis, alongside Carter Fartuk, who's one of the young guns. There's the Pro-Am and the young gun categories. He was on that pole. Paul Terry was lined up in row 3, another of the Pro-Am drivers in the number 4. And the number 6, Johann Schwartz in the Pro-Am car. Then the number 36, Lawrence Loshak, was in the number 5 starting spot. Cameron Lawrence in the number 6 starting spot. 7th, Bryce Miller in the number 2. 8th, Austin Reilly, who just continues to be, I think, an inspirational story. We'll talk more about that.
Yep.
In the number 12, the 71 of Hannah Zellers. The 15 of Matt Keegan, who went on to win the first race there in his first ever appearance in these cars, and he was enjoying that an awful lot. And then the number 5 of Molly Saleen in 11th, and Martina Kwan in the 12th spot. As you said, we have a lot more of those cars here, but since they hadn't qualified for that race, it's only fair.
This is only the makeup.
Exactly.
Elkhart Lake tomorrow, and boy, do we have interesting stories to tell on that one, buddy.
Absolutely.
We've got a lot to share with you there. Poor Carter, you know, he's one of the young guns, but he is surrounded by a lot of Pro-Am talent. I talked to him about how he felt about that. Everyone's talked about the track getting pretty slick, Greg, and so I said, how are you going to handle that? And he goes, well, the bummer is you go into that first corner at the end of the bank, it's the outside where I am is particularly messy.
Yes.
He goes, so I'm either going to have to get him on the jump gun, or I'm going to have to fall in behind him because there's just no way to go over that outside line.
Well, it's interesting what's unfolding here. Obviously, this track, very green when the weekend started, and obviously more and more rubber's been laid down on the track as it's happened. But what is happening as well is, you know, the cars, with it being very green, doing a lot of flat sliding, and that's what balls the rubber up and creates those marbles. And you get off line at all here. It's very sketchy indeed. Now, it was announced that the races will be started on the middle of the infield straight between turns 7 and 8.
Right.
So you don't have to start the race and dive into that chicane, which is good news. But as you point out, turn 8 also a corner that if you get trapped around the outside there, it's going to be tough. So you got to get the jump and get into it leading, or probably just settle back, drop in behind, and then try and mount an attack as the race unfolds.
It's interesting. You know, you and I have been here for the beginning of this stuff. 1 car at Sears Point, and then Portland 6, and then up to 12. And here we are. We literally for tomorrow will have close to 20 cars good to go. Practice has been a little hard for a couple of people, but we got. Of the 21 cars, we think we'll have between 19 and 20 starting the race. If you're new to S1, I have to tell you, these are the Saleen production cars that will be coming out later next year. These are the racing versions, 2,200 pounds, 450 horsepower by a turbocharged inline 4-cylinder Saleen engine. The cars have been developed in wind tunnels, and Eric Curran, who just won last weekend, and I know you know this because you were there, we're talking about it, won the championship and won in his division in the Cadillac-powered car. Did a great job. And he's been the development driver for these cars, and he's here this weekend coaching a lot of the young guns.
Yeah, and I mean, what a great mentor for all of them to have.
Can you
obviously,
imagine?
you know, his data book's pretty deep.
Yes, it is.
And his speed quotient is still pretty stout as well, as you said, helping to win at the Petit Le Mans. So he's still certainly got it. And aside from all the coaching he does, I mean, being the lead development driver, all of that knowledge being poured into the testing and development of these cars has allowed these cars to be absolute. I think is a key reason why these cars, you know, rolled off and were immediately very quick. the reliability issue, well, that's something with a brand new car. As you go faster and faster, you find the links that need to be worked on.
Boy, isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? And you get one thing working, the next thing shows up, Electrical has been a challenge. Connectors you would have thought would work between the engine loom and the cockpit ended up being a very big problem for the Cup Series, but they look to have that totally ironed out. In fact, what comes up now is now the cars are running full sessions, and now we're finding things they're out there 20 minutes, 30 minutes that weren't coming up when they were breaking at 10 and 15.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, as they say, it's a process, isn't it?
Is.
And you work through it, and when you finally get to that point where you've sussed out all those little idiosyncrasies, work through them, then you've got a stout package, and the speed of these cars,
shocking.
unquestioned.
Shocking. And the stakes are high. These kids want this, both the Pro-Am and whichever champions get crowned today, well, actually this weekend, will go on to drive the factory GT4 version, the concept of which was introduced last night. The GT4 car to compete next year. Now this series will go on for 2 more years that we know about, and then the GT4 will compete, with the standard SRO stuff. I asked these drivers how they like their track, and I keep checking with them session after session, and it's funny how they're developing a fondness for it now that they're getting to know it. They go, you know what? It's actually a pretty fun track.
Well, I mean, it was a complete unknown, for everybody coming in. I mean, it received FIA approval just, I think, the morning before the first test sessions began. And so nobody really had any time on it, and so they were going, well, it's a Roval, it's the infield thing,
right?
But the more they put laps in, we're getting the same feedback through all of the SRO categories too. The drivers are going, this place is actually kind of fun, and there's where that race will be started.
I see. Okay, I know exactly where that is. Okay.
Yeah. So that's, and you can see.
You're right. That's not an ugly background, is it?
No, it's not. It's not. It's absolutely beautiful out here.
Yeah. And the fighter jet's going off the. We're at the end of the runway for Nellis here.
Exactly.
And, between that and the Warthogs and the fighter jets, it's pretty cool.
And every once in a while, you get this. It's a loud jet roar. It's a loud jet roar, and then you hear this thunderous jet roar as they've hit an afterburner and taken off, and you can't help but just stop what you're doing and look. It's impressive stuff.
It's been an air show for sure. What a great facility. Again, I just love the SRO people. They've just been fantastic to work with. So welcoming.
This track, 2.51 miles in length, 12 corners, which doesn't include the big apron runs, which are essentially serve as straights. I mean, these guys are pretty much flat out through those apron runs, but they're in them a long time. Talking to some of the drivers, they said 15 seconds you can be in the apron run from 2 all the way to 3 and another 10 coming out of 12, and that loads things up just a little bit.
It does.
And so there's the indication. That's the finish line right there.
Okay,
which starts
so
and
the
restarts.
Finish line will stay.
The starts and restarts will unfold in that other location. Reason is that where the start-finish line is, you're in a braking zone. So
that's a very good point. I had not thought about that.
That's a unique scenario. So they reacted and have come up with a solution. But so you're running the apron around the oval part of the track, and then when you cut through into the infield, it's serpentine, lots of momentum in that section of track, surprisingly quick, a lot of the drivers said, and then back out and onto these aprons. So as we make our way here, we're looking basically at the exit of what would be Speedway 2, and we're down on the apron. There's the run down the backstretch, and basically what they do is when they cut into the infield, they literally just sort of cut in. They've created a big gap in the barrier down there, and you turn down into that barrier. Now the pace car right there, that's where it exits and just sort of continues on. Okay. This is now turn 3, and they're making their way around. They've got a sort of a nice little rhythm section, a couple of kinks, 4 and 5. There's a left kink and then a right kink, and then a double apex 6 and 7, and then we go racing at the green flag coming out of turn 7. That's the exit of 6 or 5 right there. This is into 6.
Cars are gorgeous. I love the graphics on them. Aren't they good looking?
Well, I mean, you look at it, it's a monument to history here with those beautiful graphics package and some of the most ultra modern race cars and street cars you can imagine. All right, here we go, leading him to the line. And oh, big move here.
Wow.
That was a superb launch from the number 4. And we've seen Paul Terry show that kind of aggressive racing before. Oh, and somebody floating way wide.
That's Johan.
Yep.
Schwartz was way out there. He's coming back on. That cost him a lot of spots, that mistake.
It did. I wonder if he may have had a little help there as well. There's a big compression at that part of the track.
That's
An assist, yeah. But boy, Terry jumping from that third starting spot right up into the lead.
And let's see how he fares on timing. I don't know. He's got fast guys behind him. This is going to be interesting.
Yeah, absolutely it is.
Hold those guys off is going to be tricky, but everyone is so hungry to get the points from this race.
And how savvy was it for Carter Fartuk? And he's this young gun, and you're thinking, oh, he's going to be a, he'll fight, he'll do this. And when Terry came steaming up the outside, Carter just opened the wheel up, let him through. And that was pretty savvy. Now he's got his head down and is going into attack mode. Up into third is Loshak from fifth. So that's a good start. And Brandon Davis, who has been awfully fast, but from pole dropped back. You know what? I thought I saw something when we saw that off for Johan on that left rear corner. And we'll see what they're talking about here.
And I should give you a heads up. Molly Saleen is sharing her car this weekend, and she will be at this pit stop. She will change drivers.
Okay. Here's that group. A little bit of a break now unfolding. Behind Matt Keegan in fifth.
Credit. He may be rated a young gun, but look who he's running with, all the Pro-Am guys.
Well done. What a sound those things put up together when they're running in a pack like that as well.
I got to tell you, Mr. Terry's doing a good job.
Yes, he is. There's Johan.
I think Johan gestured that there might have been an assist too. So
yeah,
he's a pretty cool-headed.
I don't know if Brandon gets hit or whatever happens, but he comes into me. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that would. And that would make sense. I mean, with Terry, the way he dove down to the inside, he got inside Brandon. Brandon floated wide to open the door up.
Yep.
And that's probably right at that point where Johan was sitting.
You and I both know that Johan is not mistake-driven. He's, boy, look at Carter wants a piece of this.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, Johan is, he's been just stunningly fast in touring car. His touring car here, I think with his loose track condition, all of his drifting experience, he's really comfortable in that home. Boy, did Carter get a run? Let's see if he takes a look. Shows the nose, decides the better of it, and tucks back in here early in this race. But he's getting a tremendous run through that long apron run and up into turn 3.
And I talked to Carter and I said, so what's the goal? And he goes, oh, just keep my nose clean. Well, isn't it interesting how quickly they forget that once this thing goes green?
Yep.
Yeah, Carter's wanting a piece of this first place.
He is, and once again there, he showed, I thought, some really savvy, mature racecraft to say, this isn't, if I try this, it could get ugly. I'm just going to tuck back in and see if I can keep pressuring it. Oh, and right there, for instance, Terry running a little wide.
A little wide there. That he may live to regret that move. You're right.
A lot of drivers have told me this weekend here that in terms of racing here, one of the things you may have to rely on, this isn't the easiest place to pass. And they said, so you've got to be disciplined, patient, and just hound the guy in front of you and see if you can have him make a mistake. We already saw Terry have that little bobble there in turn number 8.
And the kind of track that tempts you to overdrive. And you and I both know how quick that'll bite you because the braking zones are long. You get in there going really quickly, and it's an area where you're trying to bag every foot of it, right? And it just sometimes will suck you in. Boy, Loshak is really, he's in this game too. Look at him.
He is, I'll tell you. Matt Keegan working the outside of Brandon Davis. And then in the yellow machine, that's Cam Lawrence, who is closed up on this group as well.
Yes.
Oh, boy, I'll tell you, Carter right there, he didn't quite get the run he wanted.
Yeah.
And his...
he's not going to get a toe down that back straight.
Yep, just lost a little bit of the mojo right there, but he's gathering it right back up again. And as we watch them make the move into the infield, we saw the issue for Johan Schwartz. Ryan, what's the word?
Let's chat with Johan. Unfortunately, the race ends sooner than you would have liked. What took you out of the race, Johan?
Had a little side-to-side contact. I'm not exactly sure what happened. I was trying to stay clean and got all of a sudden hit very hard. I was trying to stay wide into turn 1 and thought I was wide enough, and then I I got slammed on the side. So I'm not exactly sure what happened, but it's obviously very unfortunate.
Good news is 2 more races this weekend. That's got a big smile on your face, I can see.
Sure, 2 more races here and 2 more races in TC. So yeah, we're going to be busy. That's what, you know. So and I was actually looking forward to it. The temperatures were cool, right? So perfect conditions for this. But unfortunately, it wasn't our day today.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh boy, and that interview concluded here. A couple of big developments. One, a change for the lead, and then Matt Keegan in that red number 15. Not exactly sure what happened there. Matt, too, is one of those guys who doesn't generally have brain fade like that, and so I'm not exactly sure what happened, but a couple of cars involved.
Yeah, actually, I think 3 in total.
Yeah.
They all kind of got ambitious.
And it was interesting. I mean, he had a great run coming out of turn 9. He really had a head of steam built up, but tough to make that move down into turn 10. And obviously, we would expect him to be making a move down into pit lane, and there he goes. And we'll see if the Saleen team can find a way to effect a quick fix on that and get him back out. Because the car seems to be rolling okay. It's just maybe just the bodywork.
I think it's just bodywork. I know there's not a spare red nose here for that thing, so it's going to be whatever race tape can do.
Well, and we just saw the signal, the slash cross throw. Now watch him there. He gets a nice run on Brandon Davis there. Oh boy, and I wonder if he didn't clip a curb and it just unloaded the car and he suddenly just lost it. That's a shame.
That was a pretty serious drop quick.
Yes, it was.
And like you said, he's not the kind of guy that generally gets himself in those pinches. That just shows you how hungry these kids want this championship.
Oh, they're pushing.
Yep.
They are pushing, yeah. Yeah, okay, now that we see it a little bit better, there's body work, but you can see that the top of that tire, the suspension took a pretty healthy whack. But I'll tell you, that pass that Carter made on Terry was absolutely beautiful. And you know, in a spot that you have to just sort of be creative and make something happen. And he got the run, got down inside, and did a nice job. And Terry tried the counterpunch.
He did.
Carter covered him. Here it is.
There it is. This is awesome. If this was artwork, it would be called interpretation.
Yep, and you can see how that Carter carried that speed in and floated a little bit wide. And right here, Terry thought about it. See if I can get the nose underneath, and Carter covered that beautifully.
Well, he knew he could afford to go wide because
Yes.
the next corner was his, being a right-hander. Wow, he has really garnered a lead.
Yeah, he has. Well, I think some of that is
the net result of all the drop kicking in the back.
the drop kicking, and also that it took the other guys a little longer to get around Paul Terry, and that has allowed him to open up that bit of a margin.
All right, Brandon Davis is not slow.
Yeah,
in fact, he may be one of the quickest of the group. So if anybody could close that gap up, I'm thinking Brandon's the guy that can make it happen.
Well, when you take a look at results on the course of the season, Brandon has put together 4 wins and a slew of poles. So in terms of pace, he might be the guy here. And that's not a surprise. I mean, a former World Challenge GT champion, he is fast, no question of that. And here's the number 19 of Cameron Lawrence, who I think was also involved in that little bit of a carambolage.
He got the assist from the rear.
Yeah.
And we saw the leaking radiator on the other car, so.
Yeah, Brandon has had himself that kind of a year. Carter Fartuk has 2 wins in his category.
Yep.
And been with a couple of fast laps as well. And just taking a look at Matt Keegan, of course, getting the big win at the first race of Road America.
And Keegan's always knocking on the door, too.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, I'll tell you, Brandon now has made up some ground.
We knew he would. He is very quick.
Yep, he's closed that margin down just a little bit.
And Carter's a smart kid. If he can cut Brandon loose if he wants to and not hurt himself in the championship as the young gun division guy.
Yep, and that would be the smart thing.
I
Davis just set fast lap, by the way, to 140.8, and that was just a tick over a second faster than Carter.
Okay.
So
Yep, they're coming.
Carter's looking in his mirrors and going, "Oh, here we go."
Yeah. Well, he had to know he wasn't going to get that much clean track for that long.
Up there at the number 36, Lawrence Loshak.
You know,
Who's
and
now
that's
worked
one of the
his way
cars
around
you and I saw
Ontario, yeah.
crash at Watkins Glen, and
Yep.
it's been repaired.
Yeah.
These cars were strong, and we saw another one take a big hit today, and that car will be repairable as well.
To look at, you never know when you get hit like that. You may not show a lot of damage,
Right.
but it all comes down to angles and loads. And if you get hit just the right spot, even though it doesn't show a lot of damage, it transfers into something inside, and that's where it can create some problems. Right now, Paul Terry is under attack from Austin Reilly, and I mentioned that he is a very special young man and a great source of inspiration. Tell us a little bit about his story.
Well, this young man's out of Canada. He is autistic, excuse me, and you can, some days he's very shy in the pit area, other days he's very friendly and open and talking, but you put that young man in a helmet in a race car and you see what you get. You get a very fast, aggressive young man willing to race for it. Look at him, I mean, this is him willing to really dice it out.
Yeah.
And it is inspirational because he's a little guy and he's just a sweetheart of a person. And you wouldn't expect that once he gets that helmet on, I don't know if it's too small and it pinches his head, because he certainly comes up with the speed. And this is a heck of a race he's having, and I believe that's with a Pro-Am driver.
That's with Paul Terry. Yeah,
And
got a
he's,
couple of wins here.
Yeah, you're right.
Ooh, Paul very aggressive and squeezing down on him there.
That was a serious door shutter.
It was, and I think
And
you
that's
saw
kind of
Paul
Paul's
got,
reputation.
Yep, and Paul got, as a result, a little bit of contact and knocked him a little bit more cattywampus than it did Carter.
Yep.
And Carter just picked the throttle up and was able to slice on through.
Yep, good observation. You're dead right. You know, you don't always win those.
No.
Sometimes you think you've won them.
Yeah,
and then you find out,
exactly.
dang.
Exactly.
They did not go my way. Gosh, I'm really proud of Austin. Austin Reilly, just a great kid, great parental support.
Yes.
His dad's at every race. And right there for him.
Well, and it shows where somebody has that little bit of a disability, that you find a passion point that allows them to just lock in and focus, and then you can see what they're capable of. And that's special.
You're dead right. They usually have some other point where they excel. Whether it's artwork or whatever. Okay, here's Carter's going to have to fight for it now. I just hope he keeps his head about him and says, okay, second place is okay here, because it still gives me the points for young guns.
Well, and the nice thing is here, too, is that Brandon had the pleasure of calling Brandon for a lot of years, and look at that. Just even when he made that pass, he gave him a little bit of room.
Yep.
Brandon is a very clean racer, along with an exceptionally quick racer. And that's one nice thing for Carter is, he knew Brandon will be relentless, but he won't physically attack your car. He'll mentally attack you.
Yep, and I think they're kind of buddies in the garage area, too. I see them kind of talking to each other a lot. Molly Saleen doing a good job. She's finally getting comfortable in these cars.
Yeah, starting to pick up some speed.
Yes. She was new to road racing and had not gone wheel to wheel in road racing ever, and so gosh darn it, she's picking it up.
Yeah, she is, and it's great to see. It's Davis now. Boy, once he got through on Carter.
Yeah, once he could see a clear track.
He's really dropped the hammer a bit there.
I love that paint scheme, too.
I do, too. Just gorgeous.
Just makes you think of Al Holbert, doesn't it?
Yep.
Beautiful, just beautiful.
Every one of these has some level of historical significance that just brings
you're
back
dead right. Yep.
memories of that era. They're just evocative is the word.
So people want to know how quick these cars are. We were seeing it at Road America, 158 mile an hour down the one chute. They're 2,200 pounds, 450 horsepower, and this is a direct representation of what the street car looks like. So you're going to be able to buy these things for $100,000. And I know people, so funny, I saw on Facebook, so Saleen's gone with Corvettes. No, this car was introduced 3 years before the Corvette this new C8 was shown.
Yep.
And this is a shorter wheelbase car. I hope that's not Carter.
It looks like it might be, but remember, there is a mandatory pit stop.
True.
In the midst of this, and he may have elected, all right, since I got passed, we'll come in and we'll get our mandatory stop done here, but they're also plugging in, as they always will, plugging in, looking at data. Because it's important to remember here, yes, in this inaugural season, this is definitely a competition, but it's also R&D.
There's been a lot of development as a result. And like Steve said, I'm so glad that we did this because we learned so much about our cars.
And we've talked about it before. Well, why would you do R&D publicly? And like, it's because no matter how many laps you pound around in a test session, you never put the car under the stress you do as you do in a hard race.
You're dead right.
That's where you learn stuff. You're
dead right. Steve was talking about. I overheard Steve talking to somebody today, and he goes, "Yeah, this is a hard way to learn, but you'll learn more quicker here."
Yep.
We had a car crash pretty hard here. You and I both know one got crashed pretty hard at Watkins Glen, and what a relief to find out the tub tolerated it just fine, and the cars are repairable.
Cars are repairable, and the other side of it is that the drivers, are like, well, okay, these things are sturdy, they're safe.
Good point.
They absorb energy well, they don't transfer to the driver. Everything from a driver's perspective that you really look for. It looks like Davis is off speed here,
What's
though.
Here comes
here. Yeah. Loshak just shot through.
Yeah, no, Davis has an issue. There's no way. He's not in a position to give up the win.
No. Not seeing anything untoward on the car itself.
When the headlights were first on, I thought it was a little dramatic, but I don't think we're too long from them actually having some value.
No, remember how when we started this race, those hills in the background were lit up. It's just the very top. So that tells you that the sun is getting lower in the sky.
Right.
This track is equipped with a full Musco lighting system as well. But the interesting thing on the infield, they've got the portable lights setups here. So Loshak now leading as Davis drops down. Reilly, I think after the start-finish line, Reilly was able to get through as well.
Wow, so that puts Austin Reilly top in Young Guns.
That's
look
impressive.
At Martina Kwan. She always, that lady thinks her way to the front. It's just incredible. She's patient, she's smart. Look at her, now she's 5th.
And one of the things that we've seen her be very adept at is she doesn't push so hard that the car breaks.
Right.
And that's okay. You've got other drivers out here that are, in terms of the R&D.
Yep.
Let them push. Let them go after it. But she's here for racecraft and strategy.
She's going to be a wicked endurance driver.
Yeah.
Because she will bring the car back. Does a good job here. This is very interesting. This race has had some surprising developments. Okay, now this looks like a mandatory pit stop.
Yes, that it does.
They will do a break in the middle, and there will be, when this was originally set up to be a 2-driver, shared drivers situation, then we just had single drivers. Now this will be the first time, Molly Saleen will be the first one to actually have a driver change out. Yep, so here's Martinez in. Yep, this is their mandatory required stop. They won't do anything to the cars. Well, I see a little brake smoke. Yeah, seems to lead the race. You have to work kind of hard, huh?
Exactly. I mean, they're running 142s.
Yep.
Some of them, that's mighty quick stuff to be pushing here. Here is Molly getting out.
Yep. And I have never met the young lady who's getting in. I don't know who she is.
Oh, okay.
I know she's a rookie to the series. Where she comes from background-wise, I don't know. I have to tell you, as a driver, this is the thing I hate the most. I hate doing, with the helmet and the Hans on, it's such a hassle to help a driver get into a car that you're getting out of.
A little tough, isn't it? Yeah.
It's not fun. Oh, she's plugging in radio now.
So that would be. Oh, that's Brewer.
Oh, that's right.
That's getting on board.
They don't have to hurry because they don't have.
As we're watching here, Austin Reilly, who is continuing to put in some laps. Let's head down. Very early in the race, we saw Carter Fartuk showing some awfully good speed, Ryan.
Yeah, a lot to be excited about for Carter. Out front, leading overall for a time there. Unfortunately, out early. Do you have a sense for what happened?
Yeah, the V-band popped off of the, it's basically a clamp that holds onto the turbo, popped off, and motors just kind of started almost, sounded like it was going to blow up, so I had to just pull it in, and water temperature started to rise, so it's unfortunate, but whatever. You know, we still have all week, so it's all good.
And still, to have the experience leading this field, the great drivers in this field, and to do it under the lights here in Vegas, that had to be pretty special.
Yeah, I mean, Vegas is an incredible place to run at, and they did a pretty good job of this little course layout that we got here. So, and obviously, the competitors that I'm able to race against, it feels really good to be able to lead overall and also in class. So, I was hoping to get the win, but unfortunately, we'll have to wait for the rest of the week.
Yeah, so far so good, at least with the pace. Hopefully the reliability comes. And Greg, I think I heard you say something about wanting to ask a question.
Well, I was just wondering if you could get him to explain that pass he made for the lead down into turn 8. I mean, he had to get creative. It was squeeze play time.
Yeah, the guys in the booth want you to relive that pass that you made for the lead. How'd you get it done? Take us through that.
Well, I got a really good run coming out. I saw that Paul Terry he stuffed it in the corner before pretty deep, so I knew he wasn't going to get a good run out, so I planned it so I could get that run. I got in his draft, and he went down to block, rightfully, and normally I would go to the outside and just wait for another turn, but I was like, nah, this track is so hard to pass at, so I had to take the opportunity while it was still there. So yeah, just kind of sent it down the inside, and it stuck, so it was all good.
Good stuff. It was thrilling for us as well, so thank you very much. Better luck the rest of the weekend.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Ryan. Yeah, so it was a send it moment, and he did.
Yep.
And that's the thing too. You know, I've heard that from other drivers in all the categories here. They said, you know, this track being tough to pass, if you get an advantage, you better be decisive and go, because who knows when you'll get that opportunity again. And I think we just saw that played out beautifully, and Carter took advantage of it.
He did. It was very smart. It was funny because you had made a point of mentioning it. The drivers had talked about it being hard to pass here. You talked also about people wanting to learn racecraft here, and when you've got pro-ams have an opportunity to run with these young guns running with these pro-am drivers, they're learning things.
Absolutely.
You know, because they don't get a chance to see these kind of moves. So.
Well, and that's, you can literally go to school on somebody if you're one of those young guns, and you're having a day where you've got a little bit of speed and everything, and you can stick with the pro for a while.
Right.
You can learn so much about how they're managing, how they're adjusting if the grip's going away on one spot and transferring, and just all the little nuance that that the pros have to use to be successful.
Well, you used the right word. It's racecraft, and I talked to Carter and a few of the guys afterwards, and they said you learn something every race because of how good these guys are, and of course the coaching with Eric Cohen, just awesome. That's a shame.
Yep.
He really had a good win coming to him.
Yeah. Well, he's got the speed, and as he said, we got 2 more races this weekend yet, so it's an opportunity for him. With Terry now in the pits, Loshak has completed and is back out and has resumed in the lead.
And he's always one of the fast guys too. I mean,
he
he's
is.
never been out of it wherever we've been, and I'm proud of how quick these guys adapted to this track, and they're setting good numbers.
Actually, right now, he's got second fast lap of this race. Loshak at a 1:41.892 in this car. Only guy who's been quicker is Cameron Lawrence in that number 19 at a 1:41.4. So Loshak certainly, and they're the only 2 that have dipped into the 141s. So having a very solid run at it here.
I wonder if this track's starting to cool down now. You and I both know the sun's going down. This is a kind of place that when that happens, things cool down kind of rapidly this time of year. I wonder if they're seeing any change in the grip.
I would think they would have to be.
I have to agree with you, buddy.
And the thing of it is that, just that relentless sun all day long, so this track has a lot of heat. And as the sun sets, you get that little period where you really start to feel grip. It all comes back as the track cools a little bit. The tires can bite into it a little bit more.
You're right.
But the later in the day, in the evening you run, desert evenings, even when you've got 100-degree days, which we haven't had here, but 100-degree days, you can have 50-degree evenings here, and it gets to a point where suddenly it's so cold there's a limited
You're
grip.
right. I mean, it's going to be adaptive. I'm so proud of Martina. She's just doing such a great job. And where is she running now? Look at her. She's 4th.
4th right now.
Yep. Just doing great. And you talk about somebody gets out of these cars smiling. That is That's Martina.
That's
She
her
just
MO, for sure.
absolutely loves doing this, and she's new. This is not from a long career.
Yeah, exactly. All right, and one of the guys that we saw was on pole and sort of was attacked a bit early in the race on that opening lap and showed speed but struggled a bit is Brandon Davis, right?
Well, talking to Brandon a moment ago, it sounds like you had a little bit of everything in a pretty short stint, all things considered. Starting up front, losing some ground, charging back to the front, and ultimately a mechanical issue has you out.
Yeah, unfortunate. You know, we had a bit of an issue at the start. I didn't get a good start. The guys behind us were able to get in there, and then I think the Loshak probably got a little bit overly aggressive and kind of doored me and the car next to me, and it kind of knocked our toe out. The car wasn't great, but we were still quicker than the cars in front. And then ran around for a bit with Matt behind me, and I know he was getting impatient, and I was getting impatient but it is tough to pass. It's part of the track. So and then going into right after the sweeper, the quick right-hander there, he got underneath me and then went for Loshak, and they had a collision. I was able to get by, and then Carter was up the road. The car was not perfect, but it was still good enough that we were able to start making inroads there, able to get to the lead, and then about 2 laps or so later, just started to experience a miss, and then miss started getting pretty violent. Eventually something snapped in the back end as well. So, it's really unfortunate. The guys, it's part of, racing a developmental series where we're, trying to work on the car as we go. It's very unfortunate. I think it's the 3rd time this year where we've been leading and the car's broken. So, it's that you can't fault the guys. The guys have done a great job. The team has done a great job. The car is amazing. It's just dealing with those teething issues going through a championship is really tough. So that's part of it.
Sorry to see you out so soon.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, especially when we're competing for a championship. I don't know where that puts us now, but 2 more rounds to go to here, and we'll see how it ends up.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, as I said, he's been the guy who's fast, and I have to mea culpa here because I said that the only guys into the 141s were Lawrence and Loshak, Cameron Lawrence and Loshak, and Lawrence Loshak, so that's where. But I missed a guy who turned a pretty good lap too, and is the only guy to get into the 140s, a 140.8, one Brandon Davis.
Yep. Well, you and I both agreed that he was going to catch up.
Yes. Yes.
I so admire and so impressed with the attitude these kids, these young drivers have shown. When the cars let them down, they understand the nature of what's going on here. And we haven't had any mean-spirited comments. They all get out going, hey, we love the cars. We just can't wait to get through all the teething issues that you go through with new cars.
Absolutely. And I think that, as you said, speaks very much to the performance that these things give. In terms of pleasure, certainly outweighs the disappointment, frustration. Understanding it's a developmental situation here, and they are throwing down some laps. And the other thing was, we in talking to Carter Fartuk, and he said that clamp, there's a name for it, but the clamp that works with the turbo, he said these are inline 4s, and they're putting up some huge horsepower. That means a lot of boost.
Yep.
And so that is understandably going to be one of those links that they're going to have to continue to work on.
Yeah, that's interesting that failed. We haven't seen that happening, though he did have that happen to him in the last practice session as well. So there's something going on there that overnight I hope they pin down. But boy, this one seems to be running perfect. So.
Yeah, Lawrence is he's shown speed, and
he's another one of the quick ones.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. And I mean, he got away with it too when Keegan came steaming up the inside.
Yep.
And went by him, and then clocked Lawrence. So I mean, it was very fortunate for Lawrence Loshak here to not be caught up in that.
Well, Johan's going to be walking through the garage looking for somebody with golf wire blue on their side on their tires. So, he's a calm-headed guy, but at the same time, he does not like being pushed around because Johan's a very clean racer.
He is. He is.
These are paddle shift cars, sequential 6-speed gearboxes. I mean, they're state-of-the-art. Big brakes. No one's complained at all about brakes being an issue in any way, shape, or form. And this track certainly is. And you and I have been to very fast places, but this place has a lot of repetitive braking.
It does.
And no one's complaining about any kind of fade or any kind of issues at all.
Well, that's one of the aspects that's kind of surprised people. They said about this track is they said it's fast.
It is.
You know, there's a lot of there's flow in the infield, and these apron runs here, these long arcing runs. And he said essentially we're on a straight. You know, it's just that it bends a bit. But for us in these cars, certainly, he said it's pretty much flat chat.
Yep.
And so, like you get down into turn 3, there's some pretty heavy stonking brake pedal pressure
You're absolutely
going
right.
on
You're,
down
you're
here.
on the binders a bunch.
Yep.
Austin Reilly, what an impressive young man. Look at him scoot. And he wins races up in Canada, too. This kid's a race driver.
He just dropped into the 142s.
See? And he did it smart. This is, you don't see him over his head.
No, he is
Very, very measured.
He's got some pace here, no question about that.
And I worried when I first met him. I said, well, how's he going to do if he gets in a Duke situation? And they said, listen, you should see him in Canada in that spec series up there. He fights with 3 and 4 cars at a time, and it doesn't rattle him. So, and we just kind of saw evidence of that. You saw him outmaneuver somebody who was on him hard. This is the new paint scheme. This is something Molly Saleen wanted. And so her father agreed. Yeah, it's funny. It looks better on track. In the garage, I'm like, but I have to say, on the track, it looks pretty good. This car's brand new, as several of them are.
So, we just got an update. I was just looking at the times here for this number 34 and seeing low 43s, high 42s, and I was going, well, that's pretty impressive. Well, there was a late change as to the driver of this car. That's Eric Powell.
Oh, that's not the young lady I thought that was.
And so Eric Powell has got this thing flying right now.
I'm just going to say Eric's, and he had a bad shunt there.
Yeah, it was a big shunt for him, and again, sturdiness of the cars, he emerged just fine. And so let's, but the young lady who started this and asked for that beautiful paint job is standing by with Ryan.
Yeah, let's talk to Molly Saleen. We were chatting a moment ago. You're all nerves right now watching Eric behind the wheel.
Yes, I am very on edge right now. I just want to bring it home and get a podium finish.
How has it been so far, learning a new track? There's no data, no video. Everyone's starting from ground zero.
This track is crazy, and it's really slick out there, and it's all turns, no resting, short straights, but it's back to my NASCAR route, so I like it.
Now, Eric's turned in some good lap times right now. How confident are you? Looks like we see the white flag right now at start-finish, so getting close.
I'm pretty excited here, so hopefully he brings it on home, and he's an excellent driver, and I'm so happy we're paired up.
All right, good luck the rest of the way, and guys, you can see just over here to our left, they've got the white flag at start-finish.
All right. I'll tell you what, and yeah, Eric has absolutely been flying right now. 3rd overall, 2nd in the Pro-Am category behind Loshak, with Reilly splitting them right now. And there is Mr. Loshak, and heading down into turn 3. And it'll be interesting to see because the checkered flag, you would suspect now when you see that white flag, you'd think this next time by start-finish that the checker will come out. And what a run here. And tell you, for Molly, what a class act for her to be able to, say, look, let's get Eric in the car and give him the opportunity. And she turned it over to him in a position where there was obviously an opportunity for a very strong finish. But she brings up a good point. This track is serpentine everywhere, and even on those straight sections, you're still turning. You're working the wheel. This is a track that would be the very definition when you think of a racetrack of busy.
Yes, exactly right. No, the right term to use. Yeah, you're not resting much here, though you would think you could.
Yes.
But that was a real surprise sticking Mr. Powell in that car, because I thought it was going to be one of the rookie young ladies.
Yeah, it caught me out too.
But come to think of it, they hadn't qualified from Road America, so it made sense to put Powell in.
All right, let's see here. Watch for it. Is the checkered flag coming out? It is. It is indicated final lap. And Lawrence Loshak comes through and gets the win. That was a very solid drive by Lawrence.
I'd like to point out that Austin Reilly has been on every podium, my friend.
It's been impressive, hasn't it?
Very good. This kid has got a lot of gumption.
Yeah, and Lawrence his first start in the championship was at Road America. Then he didn't get a chance to run in that second race because it was quite literally rained out. Ooh. But boy, did he come back with a good performance. And for Carter, Austin here, an absolutely superb run. A couple of wins in his category, and he's going to add a third one right now. What a season for this very special young man.
Yep, he has really done.
Hasn't he, though?
Everyone in the pits loves him. He's just been an inspiration. And we're all just very, very proud of him. He's just done a great job. And these cars are considerably quicker than what he comes from.
Yes, yes. And there it is, Eric Powell bringing the car that Molly Saleen started through, third overall and second in the Pro-Am category. That is a good run as well. I'm very happy for Eric. He is such a talented driver, and getting an opportunity to show what he can do in some higher horsepower machinery, and he has been impressively fast.
Well, I'll remind you, he got in the car in fifth, and he drove it to third. I mean,
there you go. Yep.
Oh, by the way, those were his first laps in that car. So
that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, learn it quick, buddy.
Yeah, Martina comes home in the 4th spot.
Good girl.
She's coming around here. That's a good run for her. Third in the Pro-Am category. So this is a good run for her and a podium in the Pro-Am.
All right, and she's made a couple of other podiums. So she might be a rookie in some ways. She's showing a lot of savvy.
Yeah, she is.
Car looks good too. I like the graphics.
And look at that. They were all instructed, as they were in all of the driver meetings, that for the checkered flag, you don't worry about that chicane. You just continue straight on.
Oh, cool.
And everybody else is taking the checker and then dipped low again. She's like, no, I want to run the bank here. She let that car float up a little bit.
Well, I have to say, she and Molly Saleen are the two that come out of the cars grinning, no matter how hot or how hard it's been.
Yep.
To their credit. That rain out at Road America was a shame.
Yes.
Coming from the West Coast, I hadn't seen rain like that in a while. So
I bet you had.
It was my eyes were certainly large.
All right, here's a look at the results, the top 4. And again, Loshak, Reilly, Saleen Powell combo, Michelle Kwan. 5th, although down a few laps after a mechanical issue, was Paul Terry, who had that big move at the start. And then Brandon Davis, and then Fartook and Lawrence. So
I can't get this open.
I think
he's so amped. There he goes. He just didn't have the leverage to be able to pull that back.
Win a race and couldn't get out.
Exactly. He's trapped in his race car and loving every minute of it.
And here's a car that got hurt back at Watkins Glen badly. It's obviously real good.
It's the
tubs are strong.
They done fixed her.
They done fixed it. You're right. Well, I love it when you get technical.
There's Austin. Boy, what a great drive he put on.
He did. I'm very, very pleased with him.
Yeah. And just his reaction when he and Terry got together down there in 3, just reacted beautifully. Terry shut the door. He checked up, but he didn't, turn or anything to be too evasive, because that's when you can spin.
Yep.
And he let Terry turn in on him, just tapped him. Terry's the one who got loosened up. He squared up underneath, dropped the hammer, and took off.
But like you said earlier, he checked up, but he didn't give up.
Bingo. Exactly right.
Well, my friend, I'm going to run on down there to Victory Circle and shake some hands. Thank you again for having me. I truly appreciate it. I love working with you.
Love working with you, too, and get to do it again a couple more times.
Sounds good, my friend.
Yeah. All right. Good. Look at that. Beautiful evening sky here in the Las Vegas desert. Just north and a little bit east of the time of Las Vegas itself. So Las Vegas Motor Speedway going to be very busy. We have 2 more Saleen races as well as a full slate of SRO GT competition that will be unfolding tomorrow and Sunday. So make sure you check in with us and enjoy some great racing as it continues from Las Vegas Motor Speedway. For Rick and for Ryan, I'm Greg Creamer saying farewell tonight, and we'll see you and enjoy a very busy day tomorrow.